Fifth Avenue in the Village of Broadview Village Chambers. Madam Secretary, can we get a roll call, please?
Mayor Thompson?
Here.
Mayor Perry?
Here.
Ms. Jones?
Here.
Ms. Senior?
Here.
Mr. Nosek?
Here.
Ms. Caraco?
Here.
Can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have no public for public comment. Presentation of the minutes of June 29, 2021. I'll call for a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those minutes pass. Next is monthly financial reports for May 2021 and June 2021. Kelly, you wanna? For May and for June. Huh? No.
I know I sent them out. Well, I did not reprint the May one, send the May one, I sent it to you.
Would you wanna verbally tell us about the financials for May?
Yeah, I can tell you
Okay,
about it.
so if you can come to the podium because we're streaming live now. Thank you.
At the end of June, the commission had about $15 million in cash and cash equivalents. Most of it, hold on a second. Wrong client, sorry. At the end of June, the Water Commission had $5.5 million in cash and investments. At this time, we have $3.75 over at Illinois Fund and $1 million over at JP Morgan. We're gonna have to work to get some of that over to Sawyer Faldudo so that we can start investing it more. The cash over at Chase is liquid, and so it can be moved over. We were waiting for the new board to take over. And so now that that has taken place, we can move forward with that. Let me find it. Through the month of June, again, we're really early in the year, so we're gonna show a pretty healthy picture early on in the year with a $279,000 surplus for the first 2 months. It's not uncommon for us because of the fact that we have bond payments that are due throughout the year, and so we accumulate the income until the bond payments are due. And so having just under $300,000 right now is not uncommon for us because of the fact that we'll have a bond payment due, I believe, in December. Okay, so we tend to have an accumulation of cash throughout the year, and so that's why we have the positive position right now. Being that we're 2 months into the year, water should be about 16%. Our sales should be about 16%, but we're trending a little bit under. What we notice in our water trends is right now is where the 2 months that we have in there right now are actually April water use and May water use. We bill 1 month in arrears, so you'll see that the water usage trend goes up pretty much through September, and then it drops back down and will be flat, really low. And so we'll expect our water usage to go up for the next couple of months, and we'll trend above budget. And then in the winter time, we actually start bringing it come back down right to be more in line with budget. So I don't expect us to be, the first 2 months of the year are always typically slower, primarily because of the timing of the bills, but then we'll pick up and then we'll drop back down. Almost like your property taxes in your village. So that's kind of where we're at financially. Anybody have a question?
Mr. Nosak?
No, I'm sorry.
Ms. Corrupt?
No.
Mayor?
I'm fine.
Trustee? No. Ms. Jones?
No.
Thank you. Attorney Jerusik, we don't need to approve the financials?
I would do a motion to accept them.
Okay,
I would, I always like to see that.
okay, I need a second, a motion to accept the monthly financial reports for June.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Or do we need a roll call, Mike?
You're not approving the expenditures, you're just accepting them
Okay.
for the record and putting them on file.
And then for May, because we didn't talk about the May financials, you want to table this till our August to revisit the May financials?
The May ones, I sent those out for our May meeting. That's why.
Attorney Jerusik?
Yeah, on my notes, Kelly, if I could just comment, my notes show that the financials, that there was no report, and it maybe you weren't here at the last meeting, and the board was
You weren't
looking-
feeling well.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
were sick.
Yeah, I wasn't here, but you had the report before it.
But they were looking for a verbal report from you to do an overview of the May financials at this meeting.
Ah.
So we'll table the May financials to August unless you prepare to.
It's basically, I can do it. It's-
Okay,
it's
well, can you
not
come
a
back?
problem. It's just, our reports are cumulative, which means that my June has my May and my June. But I can, let me.
But I didn't hear you say anything about May financials in the June report that you just reported on. Unless it's just me. Anybody
No, I
else?
agree with you.
Okay, so
So
we would
May
like,
we had-
so can you go to the podium,
Yeah.
please?
Okay. So May we had, at the end of May, we had 5.5 million in, cash, okay? Our net income for the entire agency for the end of May was, let me get to the report. It has the entire. At the end of May, we had, we had a slight deficit at the end of May. It was most likely because we had, a large payment due in, May that we wouldn't have had previously. But again, it was early in the fiscal year. Revenues were at about 5% to 6% of usage, which it should be closer to 8%. So that goes along with that trend that we trend lower before the busy summer months, and then we'll trend back down. Okay. Also in May, we had the separation of our director, and therefore there was some additional costs related to that. So.
Okay, Mr. Nosak?
No questions.
Trustee Correcco?
None.
Mayor?
No, I'm good.
Trustee Senior? Ms. Jones?
No.
So Kelly, in the future, as we move forward for transparency and accountability, I would like all reports to be verbally articulated because we are streaming live for our constituents to be able to see what we're doing in the water agency that we both are responsible for. So for transparency and accountability, we are requesting.
We kind of got away from that the last couple of years, and we're going back to it, that's fine.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've always asked for it. That's fine. Not a
But
problem.
yeah, and then at the last, at the special board meeting that we had, just going back through the notes, you were out sick. And so we did get the May financials, but we didn't have an actual report, so. just for that.
Totally understand.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I'll make a call for a motion and a second to approve the financial reports for May 2021.
So,
Second.
All in favor?
aye.
Thank you. Okay, now for old business. One, status report on expansion of agency water reservoir capacity at the 10th Avenue Pump Station site and water reservoir project financing from water revenue bonds and refunding of IEPA loan. A copy of the status memo was dated July 12, 2021 from the bond attorney Gerald Davidson, provided to the agency board members in the agenda packet. Did everyone receive that in your packet?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Attorney?
Yeah, Daryl's available by phone. Would it be okay for me to dial him up?
Yeah, we can
So
do it right here.
everybody can hear it?
Yep.
And then he will go through the report and ask for
You have
comments on it.
a phone number so we can record it?
Sure. Let me, his mobile phone is 312-651-7995.
Calling VSP, where people come first. If you know the extension of the person you're calling, you may enter it now. To speak the name of the employee you'd like to reach, please press 1.
Hey, Daryl.
If you are a VSP employee
Dave's
or
trying to call you on a different line. We're gonna try that again. It's 312 number, right? Hello? Yeah, look for a different number coming to you in just 2 seconds, all right?
Is it?
Thanks. Try 312
Mm-hmm.
45.
Hello?
Hi, it's Mayor Thompson and Mayor Perry at the Broadview Westchester Joint Water Agency. And so
Good evening.
how are you?
Calling.
No, thank you. So we're talking about the bonds and the refunding of the IEPA loan, so can you walk us through the process?
Sure. So, since the agency adopted its parameters bond resolution in May, we've been looking at the agencies, the underwriter, Kelly, Tom, myself, have been sort of examining the agency's financial statements and operations and looking at them for purposes of funding the bond issue and to look at available revenues over time. Now, this time period is a 10 to 20 year period, and after sort of gathering the information from the financial statements, the period reasonably was forecast, and the forecast is the second pages, the end pages. There were 2 pages of financial statements that talked about a potential bond issue that included the capital project for the agency as well as the refunding. And the refunding is included because it's necessary to sort of spread out the agency's indebtedness to make sure there's a good matching of available revenue and bond payments over time. And so that is the chart, the water system pro forma that is dated July 9th, 2021. So that shows good coverage, which is the debt service coverage numbers, and that makes your bonds marketable and lowers the interest costs to the agency over time. The issue, of course, is we like to try to make the bond issue as attractive to potential investors in the financial markets as we can, so that makes the bond issue less expensive over the long term and smooths out any issues of available revenues to fund agency operations as well as the bond issue itself. So that's been a major focus, I would say, over the past month, and that focus has sort of been derived and put into those operating revenue sheets that you have. So I was wondering if you had questions about that.
I don't have any questions, Mayor Perry.
I don't.
Trustee Caracco?
No.
Mr. Nosak?
No.
Trustee Senior? Ms. Jones?
No.
So I think we're good on our end.
Okay, so then let me tell you, my memo also mentions some next steps. Next is to do two things, hire two financing participants. One is disclosure counsel and one is the bond registrar paying agent. The first one is typically a law firm. Disclosure counsel is going to create the offering document of the agency that will be used by the underwriter to sell bonds to the investing public. And that is a fairly lengthy document, as you will see, as perhaps you've seen these in your municipalities. When bond issues are sold, there's a document called an official statement, and that has a lot of financial information and historical information and description of the agency and its operations, and a description of the bond issue that meets federal requirements for underwriters to reasonably recommend the agency's bonds to other parties, to the actual investors. So there were the names of qualified law firms I've included in there for the agency's consideration. You can talk to Mike Jerusik and staff about that, and who might be appropriate, or who you have experience with, or any other issue you'd like to talk about with that. And the other one is bond registrar paying agent, and that's typically a bank. And the three banks that are listed there are financial institutions that regularly work with local governments on their bond issues. A bond registrar paying agent keeps track of who owns the bonds. They are the interface between the agency and the actual bond investors and other groups as the money flows from the agency through the financial system into the bondholders, and that's what bond registrar paying agents do. And once again, these entities are for your consideration, and they have the agency can hire them pursuant to the terms already adopted in the parameters bond resolution.
Okay, so I would say, as it relates to the disclosure council, I would recommend Delgado Law Group. And as it relates to the paying agent, I don't know how to say the Bank of Chicago. It is
Amalgamated?
What is it?
Amalgamated?
Amalgamated? I mean,
Amalgamated.
so that would be my recommendation, if the rest of the board members are okay with that. Okay, so we're gonna go with Delgado Law Group for the disclosure council, and then for the bank, where would be the, say it again?
Amalgamated.
Amalgamated.
Amalgamated, yes.
Bank of Chicago.
So that's great. I work with the people at both of those institutions doing transactions with them now. So those are quite qualified folks. That's good.
Okay. Anything else we need?
Other than contacting those folks, they will begin preparation of an offering document and a bond purchase document. I think our side, the underwriter, will begin preparing timetables for the marketing and delivery of the bond issue, and that will be reported back to you as far as scheduling and any other sort of financial players, rating agencies or bond insurers or any other parties that will add, make this a stronger bond issue.
Okay, so we would direct staff to reach out to both entities to work with you all to get the final documents that needed to move the deal forward.
That would be great. Thank you very much.
Anything else we need?
I think that's what we were aiming for this evening's meeting.
Okay, Mayor Perry, you have any concerns or
No, that
questions?
sounds good.
Okay, we're all good on our end.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for your help with this.
Oh, you're welcome. It's our pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, Mike, so is there anything we need to do on this?
No, that's it.
Okay.
We've got consensus and direction, and Darrell will reach out and engage both those firms. And at the back of his memo, there is a kind of a roster of the
Yeah, I saw
different
it.
participants or players in this transaction. That'll fill out the last two participants, and so they'll be able to move forward with the transaction now. And we will keep you updated, each meeting as it moves along.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, yeah, go ahead.
How much you touched on it. We may need, both of the directors for a rating call. In the conversations that I had with RFA and with Darrell, is that they feel that we are a good candidate to be rated. And then we potentially won't need insurance to get the rating up. We feel, looking at our financials, we have a strong financial history. And that our cash position is very strong, and that by getting a rating, paying the $10,000 to $15,000 to get a rating, it will save us in the rate, as well as it would get us hopefully out of most of the insurance these days. It's not even insurance up to AAA, it's only insuring up to AA. And so by getting the rating, the closer we can get to a AA, which I think it's a great potential. The only issue is with water agencies, there tends to be a little bit more ambiguity than with the village that can go out and increase their property taxes or something. The other thing I also wanted to point out to you is that when we did have our conversations and we put those financial projections together, usually a revenue bond that's for a water agency requires a 1.25 revenue availability for that. We're looking right now at 1.45, so we're above where they're at, and we also did those projections without increases in our water rates. That was one of the biggest things that we put into the project, is making sure we didn't break the water rates. For this bond issue, we used revenues we already had in the system. It's not saying we're not increasing the water rates for the city of Chicago increases, just saying we're not gonna add another debt service rate on it. And that is all I have to say.
So you are recommending that we go to get the rating?
I strongly suggest we do it.
When do we have to have an answer? Do we have the answer today, or can we let you know?
No, that, basically, we've gotta put together a official statement, and once we get the OS done, then we'll readdress it and make sure, we think that the rating is the right way to go. But it was something we strongly talked about, because initially we talked about doing a private placement, and, after we looked at the numbers and we ran the numbers, we realized that with the financial health of the water agency, it would be better for us to try and do an open market sale than do a private placement.
So can you prepare the documents for the next meeting for us to consider for approval, if that's the direction we're gonna go in?
When we need to go to the OS, we will have the debt.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
not a problem.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, the status report on letter of intent housing forward dated October 16, 2020 for negotiation of purchase and sale agreement for 1014 to 1020 West Roosevelt Road properties, Broadview, Illinois.
Status quo report, I hope to have more information at the August meeting, but Housing Board is still working through the due diligence phase of the contract, so nothing new to report, but I'm gonna keep it on each month just as new things arise on.
How are we doing with the
Taxes?
taxes?
We're down to 3 years of taxes, 2000, 2001, 2 different pins. And one of the sets of taxes about, I don't know what the final number is because it changes every day with accrual of interest, but by November 1 set of taxes worth at least $26,000 drops off based on a time period lapse. But I'll have final numbers for you at the next meeting. And I've talked to Housing Ford, their attorney, about scheduling a closing in November, so we at least have those taxes fall by the wayside. And then I'll be working with your staff this month to work on, there's 2 liens, the Broadview liens that are outstanding that must have been paid, you know, at the time that the property was acquired by the agency because they showed up on title, they predated the closing, and they related to property maintenance citations for the building that was acquired and demolished. So those liens must have been resolved and, you know, at the time of closing, but we can't find any proof of that in the public record. But I'll continue to try to work with your staff, and I have 2 releases of lien put together for those that I'll share with your council, and, you know, we'll try to get that put in place well before the closing.
Is there something that, on our side in our building department for the transaction, is there something that we probably can have Dave look into?
I did, and Dave couldn't find anything. I
Okay.
think, and I'll circle back with Letisa, I don't think finance was able to find anything either. That was the, you know, the information I got, you know, whether you could find a payment, you
Okay.
know, from the title company. And this is the situation where the title company, Republic, that became Fidelity, they went out of business. And so, you know, I've tracked through their successor, and they have no, you know, they can't get us like a title policy to show that it was, these liens were paid or waived. And so, you know, it's a function of, we'll just have to, you know, see what the board and your board is willing to do. Because
Okay.
one of the liens is about $2,600 or $3,200. The other one's a larger number, like $20,000+. So,
Okay.
but I'll work through staff, you know, and see where we can get, and I'll bring a report next month on it.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Nosak? Got
I'm
any
fine.
questions?
No.
Trustee Caracco?
No.
Mayor Perry?
That's fine.
Trustee Senior? Ms. Jones? Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, item 3, Emergency Purchasing Authority of Superintendent, Section 4, Approval of Broadview Westchester Joint Water Agency Purchases, and Section 7, Emergency Purchases of Agency Purchasing Procedure Policies. Copy of the policy provided to agency board members in the agenda packet. So we talked about this at the special board meeting to put something in place to give the superintendent some authority to make purchases if it's an emergency.
Yes, in the policy, we do have that in place. Superintendent has up to $50,000 of spending authority with certain, you know, criteria being met, reaching out to the 2 directors, letting them know that an emergency exists and that he or she will be spending money, you know, and then those expenditures come back to you at the next available board meeting for ratification. So, you know, I didn't want to, I wanted to come back to you with the policy. We don't have to take any action. We don't have to amend anything. We've already have that covered for the superintendent.
Okay, so just for a matter of record, for transparency, for approval of the Broadview Westchester Joint Water Agency purchases, the superintendent approval is up to $10,000 without board approval, unless the board of directors shall review and ratify all such purchases by the superintendent as part of approval of the monthly finance report. He does need approval for anything $10,000, but less than $25,000.
Correct, but in an emergency situation, he can move forward without director or board approval up to $50,000, provided that he, again, reaches out, he makes best efforts to reach out to each of the directors to inform you of the emergency and the emergency purchase, and then provide you with the, you know, price quotes or the service order for ratification at the next meeting.
So in the document that was submitted to the board, that's not disclosed in that. I don't see that. Can you direct me to where that is?
It's at page,
2 sections down, there's an emergency purpose.
yeah, section 7, which is page Romanet 4.
So it's on page 3, correct?
My pagination has it on page 4, at the bottom of page 4.
Okay, I see it. Thank you. I didn't go over on one page. So for emergency purchases, not to exceed 50,000 without approval by the board of directors at a public board meeting. Documentation confirming the emergency and supporting the need for immediate purchases shall be presented to the board of directors and executive committee within 48 hours following the resolution of the emergency. Okay, so I'm good with that. Mr. Nosak?
Good.
Trustee Correcco?
Yes.
Mayor Perry?
Yes.
Trustee Senior? Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, that wasn't a roll call, I was
No.
asking if you guys had any.
No, we're good.
No,
I understood.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we good with that. Item B, new business, consideration and approval of bills for June 2021 in the amount of $791,384.49. I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second?
Kelly, can you give us the check numbers? I wrote them down and left them in my office. I know it's 16199 through something. Okay, hold on, I can get it real fast. Okay, the check numbers is 16199 to 16225. Mr. Nosak, you have any questions or comments?
No.
Trustee Correcco?
No.
Mayor Perry?
No, ma'am.
Trustee Senior? Ms. Jones?
None.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Mayor Thompson,
Yes.
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
Ms. Senior,
Yes.
Mayor Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Nosek,
Yes.
Ms. Krakow.
Yes.
And that motion carries. Next on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
Good evening.
Good evening,
Good
how are you?
evening.
All right. Let's see. So for the superintendent's report, it's real short. The Austin Vault meter project is near completion. The Kyler Booster Station communications project is on hold pending the delivery date of the equipment. The Village Broadview water tower project is completed. It was put back in service as of July 14th, 2021. As of July 19th, Hines has taken their water tower out of service for repairs and maintenance. For the month of July, the agency completed a total of 24 Julie locates along with daily maintenance, and the station pumped 141,016,000 gallons for the month of July. That's it.
So I got a question about the Hines water tower out of service. How does that impact us?
It won't really impact us. Well, I'll take that back. We are running the booster station, I want to say at least 6 to 8 hours a day. They're using their reservoir as their tower, so they're going to keep their valve open majority of the day. So it is impacting us.
So we just monitoring it?
Yes, to make
Okay.
sure things don't go too crazy.
Okay. All right. Mr. Nosak, you have any questions?
No.
Trustee Correcco?
Just, do they have an estimate of how long it'll be out of service for?
About 3 months.
Mayor Perry?
No, I don't.
Trustee Senior?
Question, what is the, Julie locates? What is that?
So that is where we go out to mark our utilities, so it's not hit when work is being done in the area, as far as digging.
Gas
Oh, like a
lines,
locate, like
Yeah,
locating?
yeah, you locate the utilities.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
That's it? Ms. Jones?
Nothing.
One last question about the Heinz water tower. We know it's gonna be down for 3, what exactly are they doing? Are they doing some maintenance, some preventative
They're
maintenance?
actually gonna repaint repaint their tank,
Oh, okay.
the inside and out.
Similar to what Broadview was doing.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I know, I see the guys up there, I didn't know what they was doing, okay. All right, thank you. We don't have anything for closed session,
Not tonight.
so I'll call for a motion to,
Really
Kel-
quick, I gave you all the audit reports for April 30th. They're, technically they're due to the state by the end of October, but it's June, July, we got them all done. So we'll put it on the agenda for next month to approve. But since we had them, we wanted to hand them out in the have questions between now and then, please feel free to,
so can you tell us what page numbers we should pay attention to?
Okay, so there's 3 things you got. This piece of paper without a cover, this is a standard letter that the auditors are required to give in accordance with the audit standard. It basically tells about the relationship that the auditor has with us. And if there were any problems with the audit, they would be disclosed. Like if we were unwilling to provide them with documents, if we were disruptive or whatever. That's where you would find that. This is a management letter. This is the internal control deficiencies that we have. We have some of them are because we're a small agency and no matter what we're gonna do, we're not gonna get rid of them. Some of them we're gonna look at this year and see if we can get rid of them, okay? This is, the last one is your audit report,
That's what I'm interested in,
Okay.
what page?
let me get your page number. 7 and 8 is your balance sheet. This tells you how much you have in assets and how much you have in liabilities. So if you want to see how much in debt we are, it will show up on page 8. How much cash we are shows up on page 7. Okay? And then the income statement, budget to actual is on page 9. That shows our financial, we had a surplus last year of $152,000. Okay?
Okay,
So those are the 3 pages that I would look at.
I appreciate you, Kelly, thank you. Any questions for Kelly from the board? Okay, now I'll call for a motion to, Mr. Attorney.
Just real quick, I took a quick look at the management letter. Could you have them update this for the next meeting, please? There's a recommendation here, number 2, that's been in it in years past. It talks about adopting an outstanding check write-off policy, and our purchasing procedures policy that we talked about, just a couple minutes ago, page 6, we do have that.
Okay.
It's subsection, it's methods of payment, that's
Where are we
section
looking?
8, subsection C. It
Oh, here.
specifically addresses this
Oh, the
comment.
management letter, yeah.
We put that addition on a couple years ago in our policy, so that should come off.
Okay.
Then we're just down to 1 comment, and it's pretty clean. Thanks.
Thank you, Attorney Jerusik. So we'll get an updated management letter for, board final approval at the August board meeting. Anything else before I call for an adjournment for the 3rd time?
I promise I won't raise my hand.
All right, I'll call for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Who seconded, I'm sorry?
Second.
And, sorry, thank you.
We've, you don't have checks this year?
No, somebody's supposed to do it.